Coming up, authorities arrest a Lamar, Missouri man for allegedly robbing a bank. And what a new school choice law in Missouri could mean for private and charter schools. Also, the leaders at the Irene Ransom Bradley School of Nursing have been training nurses to specialize in sexual assault and domestic abuse for years. But now they'll be doing it for the entire state of Kansas.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. The heat advisory is finally over after quite a long week.
Now we lock in for thunderstorms. It is pouring out in central Kansas, or southeast Kansas right now. Let's take a look at the Skywatch storm tracker. Very, very heavy rains dropping in, especially in that Eureka, Howard, Fredonia, Yates Center Square right there. And excuse me, now we're picking up in between Iola and Chanute. You've got another line that stretches all the way just on the other side of the Missouri state line up to the north. If I throw in a lightning tracker, we can't even see the rain. That's how much lightning that we have coming down right now. Give you an idea about how this loop is working. It started in from the north and then worked its way down on us. Come on now, radar. Anyway, long story short, what's going to happen is everything's going to be coming from north to south. So we haven't really seen much of it hit the central and southern portions of the 4 states yet. Had some light rain, but the heavy stuff yet to arrive. That being said, temperatures dropping as the rain rolls through. Look up to the north where we're in the low 70s for Iola, Fort Scott, and Nevada. Mid 70s still down south, 74 in Joplin, and Neosho with 72 right now in Miami. As we look at our day plan, our temperature is not going to be too bad today. It will warm up this afternoon. Still able to make it up into, say, the low 90s around that area. And the rain should be kicking out of here, late morning. Like I said, it's going to really temper off as it works down to the south. Shouldn't have any effect on the morning commute. We don't have any watches or warnings, anything like that. And then as we clear off, when we head into Saturday, temperature is going to be very mild after that, as we'll have some 80s on the board here just in time for the weekend.
All right. Well, that's nice. Good temperatures to see there. I like that.
Yeah, I'll get that loop working. Trust me, everything's working north to south.
And if they could just stay at that temperature at 10 a.m., then that would be great.
Hey, so this gives you an example of what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Everything dropping in from north to south, and that's why I said the heaviest rain yet to really make it down to the central and southern portions yet.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. Thanks, Michael. Law enforcement in Lamar, Missouri arrest a man accused of robbing a bank. Authorities say 50-year-old Rowdy Masterson of Lamar was leaving the Community National Bank and Trust Thursday as officers were responding to calls that it was being robbed. Masterson is charged with attempted second-degree robbery, terroristic threats, and felony resisting arrest. The family of Daniel Holden, a man who died in Carthage police custody, is suing the Carthage Police Department and the city. The suit alleges that Holden ingested meth during a traffic stop that he received during a controlled buy orchestrated by police. Then after he ingested that meth, a total of 13 grams, he began seizing and vomiting in the jail. The suit says police did not immediately call for emergency medical help despite knowing that Holden ingested the meth. Instead, attorneys for the family say officers took Holden into an interrogation room before providing any medical assistance. The family is asking for compensation for all losses and damages. The U.S. Census data is out, and the 4 states have seen some growth. Over the past 10 years, Joplin grew by more than 1,600 people. In 2010, the population was 50,150 people, and by 2020, it had grown to 51,762. In Pittsburgh, the city's population grew from 20,233 to 20,646. As more businesses require COVID-19 vaccinations, many employees are wondering what happens if they refuse to get the vaccine. Shoshana Stahl spoke with a Southwest Missouri attorney to get the answer.
Employment, at least here in Missouri, is based on the fact that you can get unemployment if you quit through no fault of your own.
Attorney Greg Groves says the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission has already addressed if businesses can require their workers to get vaccinated. And the answer is yes.
You can't discriminate against people based on race, age, gender. And they also say you have to be concerned about making sure you make accommodations for people that may have a disability or a religious reason that they may not want to get the vaccine.
But you must have proof to be exempt.
People can say, look, I have never obtained a vaccine. I won't get my kids vaccinated because I'm against it on religious grounds. And you can go search my medical records. It'll show that my kids have not been vaccinated. That's going to be more proof that they have a true religious belief, because there has to be a true religious belief.
Outside of those two situations, Groves says if it is mandated, an employee must get the vaccine or risk losing their job. And that person then has no right to unemployment benefits because they chose not to follow the company's rules.
If the employer has a regular policy and they go to the employees and say, here's our policy, and you need to follow it, and the employee chooses not to follow that policy, it's basically insubordination, and the employer has every right to terminate that employee.
Groves doesn't expect many lawsuits to be filed in the area, saying most lawyers know they wouldn't win in court.
And I've had a number of calls, and I haven't seen anybody else take them, and I haven't taken them for that very reason.
When it comes to colleges and universities requiring vaccines, Grove says they're also allowed to deny students from coming to school there if they refuse to get vaccinated. Missouri creates a school choice program focused on students with disabilities and from low-income households. The program gives tax credits to people who donate money to scholarship funds. And starting next year, the scholarships will be then given to students with disabilities and those from low-income households so they can attend a private school or other educational program outside the public school system. Some are pushing against the idea, though.
Now we rank 49th in the nation in starting teacher salaries in Missouri. And instead of investing more money into a need like that, we've passed a voucher bill that actually dilutes the resources available to public schools.
The program will be available only in cities with populations higher than 30,000. In our area, that means only Joplin, and students who take part in the program will continue to be counted in their home districts for the first 5 years of the program. SANE stands for Sexual Assault Nurse Examiner, and this week at PSU, nurses are training to become SANE certified, and they aren't alone. Local law enforcement was there to make sure they're on the same page with SANE nurses when it comes to both sexual assault and domestic violence. SANE nurse Wendy Overstreet and her co-workers have been training SANE nurses for Crawford County since they received a grant for it in 2018. And now the grant has been extended and given a $1.5 million boost so the experts at PSU can train nurses throughout Kansas. Wendy says that's exactly what the Sunshine State needs, with only 18 to 20% of Kansas counties having a registered SANE nurse or SANE facility.
I just want it to where patients don't, or victims don't have to drive 4 to 5 hours to receive care. So if we can get it 30 to 45 minutes, we'd be good.
SANE training is free of charge and is also made possible due to assistance from the Kansas Coalition Against Sexual and Domestic Violence. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly announced the state is handing out more than $6 million in grants to 40 domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse programs. Hope Unlimited in Allen County is receiving more than $193,000. In Crawford County, Safe House Crisis Center gets more than $239,000, and the Children's Advocacy Center receives $48,000. It's 5:07.
Thunderstorm activity coming down on diagonal line from the southwest up to the northeast through southeast Kansas. Not a whole lot of action so far in southwest Missouri, but as this thing drops from north to south, it's going to be a rainy morning. Cooler temperatures behind it though, so it's not going to be too bad this morning. We still are going to be able to make it up into the low 90s later on this afternoon with a 7-day forecast that is going to give us temperatures in the 80s after the rain gets through for both Saturday and Sunday.
That's a look at this morning's top stories in weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, a booster shot approval.
The FDA has okayed a third COVID shot, but only for some people. I'm Bradley Blackburn with details on who will be the first to get a booster.
Plus, former Pitt State basketball standout Michaela Burgess is returning to PSU. We hear from her about her new role with the team. And a new study finds fitness trackers are helpful for those struggling to lose weight. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Neosho Wildcats in the middle of their first week of football practice. Neosho just a week away from playing in a jamboree, 2 weeks away from the regular season opener. Neosho coming off a winless season, going 0-10 in 2020 and head into this year with a new head coach in Brandon Tout, who comes to Neosho after 10 years at Joplin High School, where he served as offensive coordinator. No stranger to the COC, Tout hoping that experience will help him get things turned around in Neosho.
It's going to help a ton, you know. There's a few other new head coaches in the league, so you know, Republic, who we play week 1, is one of them. So we don't know much about those guys, but we already know a lot about a lot of the other coaching staffs and teams. So that helps us a ton just to be able to prepare every week to already have some background information on those guys. Right now, we're just focused on getting better every day, and so I think our strength right now is our mentality and our work ethic, and you know, we're not focused on anything other than today and what's happening right now.
Neosho opens the season on the 27th, going to do so on the road against Republic. Former Pittsburgh State basketball standout Michaela Burgess is returning to PSU. Burgess joining the women's basketball coaching staff as a graduate assistant this season, and with the new job, Burgess has a lot on her plate, and she's excited for the chance to be back with her program.
Michaela Burgess could not stay away from basketball.
Conversations with Coach David over the summer, I shared with her, like, it just won't leave me alone. Something about the game is just in my blood. We've always talked about it. We've always kind of hinted around at it the last couple of years, so now it's just all kind of coming to fruition.
Joining the coaching staff at Pittsburgh State will be a balancing act for Burgess, who currently owns and operates a preschool in Webb City.
Coach David's been amazing. She knows that that's my priority. I got to get things done over there, and we will. I have an amazing staff of teachers over there, and they all know and they're on board. That's mornings only, so I'll just bust it over here in the afternoons, get real familiar with that drive again from Joplin to Pittsburgh.
She is a person, I think, that kind of you feel like has the world in the palm of her hand. Like, she could do a lot of different things. This is something that she wants to be a part of again, and so you obviously do not want to deny that to a person, and I think that she's very capable of doing both.
Burgess played at Pittsburgh State from 2015 to 2018, helping the Gorillas make 3 trips to the national tournament, including an Elite 8 appearance in 2016.
She obviously represents a really competitive and just a great tradition, an era of basketball that was a really special time in the Pittsburgh community.
She's on the other side of the game now, but Burgess is happy to be back with the program and ready to do what she can to help win games.
I think it's an incredible learning opportunity for me. I hope that, there are things that I'm able to share with the girls who are here now. Just the outpour of love has just kind of caught me off guard, but I don't know why, because that's what was handed to me for 4 years when I was here as an athlete.
Burgess is third on the PSU all-time scoring list, 1,856 points. She's also second in program history with 333 three-pointers in her career. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, Taliban fighters have captured 2/3 of Afghanistan.
3,000 U.S. troops are headed to Afghanistan as the Taliban moves toward Kabul. I'm Bradley Blackburn with more on the new mission to partially evacuate the U.S. Embassy.
And to check on our rainy Skywatch storm tracker and 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. Just past 5:17, we got some thunderstorm activity that we've got to conquer. Now, took the tower cam, faced it to the north there at 7th and Range Line, because that will be a sign when the lightning begins to get close. Now, we haven't picked up any visible strikes from the tower cam in Joplin as of yet, but trust me, there's a whole lot of lightning out there. As a matter of fact, we're not going to deal a whole lot with the lightning tracker, because when you throw it on, it just kind of dominates everything right there along with the hard rain. Let's also take off the satellite and the sweeping radar and get an idea exactly where our line here is working. A whole bunch out in the western part of the southeast Kansas. Extreme heavy rain, and this thing then goes from southwest up to the northwest through Iola, just about going to hit Chanute there in a little bit. And then as we get to the northern portion of southwest Missouri, dropping down from north to south on Nevada, so that Pittsburgh Lamar line, that'll be next, then Columbus, Carthage, et cetera, as we work through our morning right here. Now, we do not have any severe thunderstorm warnings. We don't have any washes, nothing associated with flooding. So far, so good. Our ground's been able to accommodate us, but like I said, very, very heavy rain as it moves in. If we go to the sweeping radar then, give you an idea just for intensity, yeah, it's that line there that stretches from Sedan, Fredonia, that Iola line. That's the heaviest rain that we've got right now. So we'll keep our eyes to the north there for everybody in Joplin, everybody out in southeast Kansas. I understand you are in the midst of it. 74 degrees is where we are. Temperatures anywhere from low to mid 70s right now. It does back off a little bit as you get up to the north, where we have low 70s in Iola, Fort Scott, and Nevada compared to mid 70s in Joplin and Neosho. Look at that pocket hanging right over us. Not a whole lot of action minus us this morning. Speaking of some tropical action, there's Fred, still low pressure system over the north coast of Cuba and still expected to become a tropical storm by the time it gets into South Florida here over the weekend. We're still going to be in the low 90s today. As we get about to 10:30, 11 o'clock, we're able to kind of kill off the rain, but it still wants to stick around for just scattered showers for the afternoon. And then temperature is going to be much more manageable into the weekend. Let's go 90 on Saturday, 88 on Sunday. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Facebook page. Our something to talk about this morning. Fitness trackers more popular than ever, but maybe asking yourself if they actually work. Well, a study published in a British Journal of Sports Medicine says they do. Finds that these devices help motivate people to meet exercise goals through notifications, encouraging people to see and meet those weight loss goals. Our question for you this morning, does wearing a fitness tracker help or motivate you to work out? You can let us know by connecting to us via Facebook or go straight to the poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. I don't think it's any coincidence. Healthwatch is next.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, some breaking news on the effort to protect the most vulnerable Americans from the coronavirus. Late last night, federal health officials authorized an additional COVID-19 vaccination shot for those who need it. A CDC committee is meeting later today and will likely green-light the move while also discussing further recommendations. CBS's Bradley Blackburn has the latest.
The FDA has authorized third doses of Pfizer and Moderna's coronavirus vaccines for some people with weakened immune systems.
An additional dose could help increase protection for these individuals, which is especially important as the Delta variant spreads.
The booster is meant for organ transplant recipients and others who are similarly immunocompromised.
We estimate it to be less than 3% of adults.
The CDC is expected to recommend the additional shot later today, allowing them to begin immediately. The FDA made no mention of Johnson & Johnson's one-dose vaccine.
I didn't even feel that.
Transplant recipient Keith Missimer received a third dose in a trial with Johns Hopkins Medicine.
Let's just hope that we get good results, because other people are going to need antibodies in their systems too.
Transplant patients take medications that impact their responses to vaccines.
They don't work as well because we're putting you on things to prevent you from rejecting your liver transplant, your lung transplant, your kidney transplant, that's specifically designed to sort of quell your immune system.
The U.S. is averaging more than 500,000 shots a day for the first time since June. San Francisco announced some of the toughest restrictions on the unvaccinated. Proof of vaccination is now required for many indoor activities.
Knowing that everyone that comes through the doors is vaccinated will definitely just help with everyone's comfort level.
The White House says vaccination rates are up most in states where the virus is rapidly spreading. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News.
In fact, the White House says in the past month, the average daily vaccination rates in 3 hard-hit states, Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi, have nearly quadrupled. As for that booster, Dr. Anthony Fauci says anyone who is not immunocompromised does not need one right now. But he acknowledged that would likely change in the future if the vaccine protection weakens. A new blood test can help improve screening for prostate cancer. Researchers in Sweden say the test allowed them to lower the number of biopsies and MRIs performed, reducing overdiagnosis of minor low-risk tumors by as much as 69%. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Tracking the thunderstorms as they move in from the north. Very heavy rain throughout southeast Kansas right now. And a large amount of lightning where you see the orange and the red creeping closer through Fort Scott and Nevada. It starts with the light rain right there. And everybody down throughout central and southern southwest Missouri, northeast Oklahoma is really yet to experience as it drops down. It's trying to break up a little bit up to the north, but this will kind of be with us for the duration of our morning. Still going to be able to make it up into the high 80s, low 90s this afternoon. So don't think of it as a huge cold front that drops in on us. And then overnight we turn the serious thunderstorm activity into just little scattered rain. As far as what we have on the 7-day forecast, pretty seasonable temperatures over the weekend. Pretty seasonable all next week as well.
Coming up, authorities arrest a Lamar, Missouri man for allegedly robbing a bank. And what a new school choice law in Missouri could mean for private and charter schools. Also, the leaders at the Irene Ransom Bradley School of Nursing have been training nurses to specialize in sexual assault and domestic abuse for years. But now they'll be doing it for the entire state of Kansas.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. The heat advisory is finally over after quite a long week, but we've got rain in the forecast. Let's go straight to Michael.
Go from one to the other. Yeah, we don't have to worry about the heat today. We've got morning thunderstorm activity to talk about, and you want to talk about putting down some lightning right there. Throw that lightning tracker on there. It's just going to keep on popping up all morning long. Very heavy band throughout southeast Kansas, working from southwest to northeast directional wise. As far as the way the storm is moving, it is moving from north to south. So just because you're down here throughout southern southwest Missouri, even southern SEK and northeast Oklahoma, you've yet to really experience it. It is coming down on us, and then as we move out on the northern portion of southwest Missouri, starting to pick up action up by Osceola as everything begins to drop down. We have yet to encounter any flood warnings, watches, so that's a good thing. Our ground so far able to absorb even the extreme heavy downpour that they're receiving on that line that's beginning to work its way right now into Sedan and Independence, right there down by the state line. Current conditions in Joplin, where it's remained dry, 74 degrees, and no difference in the temperature and the heat index. It's been a while since we've been able to say that, even early in the morning. Look at the dividing line wind-wise right along I-44, an idea where that low-pressure system is beginning to push from the north down to the south. Still have mid-70s hanging on there. In fact, Welch still at 76 degrees. Independence is 79. We'll keep our eyes on Independence here as the storm and the heavy rain just about to hit there and see how much of a drop that it actually presents as it moves through. We're an isolated pocket of rain in the contiguous 48. There's not a whole lot of action around us anywhere else. I think when Anne Marie Green during the morning says, let's take a look at the national weather, it would be us that would stick out like a sore thumb. Low 90s today, so it's still going to be warm for the afternoon, and as this pushes off later this morning, then we turn into more scattered showers for any residual chances we have. We just got to get through the heavy rain and lightning here this morning, and then we'll ease up after that.
Yeah, the lightning was pretty impressive last
night. Yeah, it is.
Sure. All right, thanks, Michael. Law enforcement in Lamar, Missouri arrest a man accused of robbing a bank. Authorities say 50-year-old Rowdy Masterson of Lamar was leaving the Community National Bank and Trust on Thursday as officers were responding to calls that it was being robbed. Masterson is charged with attempted second-degree robbery, terroristic threats, and felony resisting arrest. Missouri creates a school choice program focused on students with disabilities from low-income households. The program gives tax credits to people who donate money to scholarship funds. Starting next year, the scholarships will be then given to students with disabilities and those from low-income households so they can attend a private school or other educational program outside the public school system. Some are pushing against the idea, though.
Right now we rank 49th in the nation in starting teacher salaries in Missouri, and instead of investing more money into a need like that, we've passed a voucher bill that actually dilutes the resources available to public schools.
The program will be available only in cities with populations higher than 30,000. In our area, that means only Joplin, and students who take part in the program will continue to be counted in their home districts for the first 5 years of the program. Volunteers showed up yesterday to help residents vacate the Miami Towers in downtown Miami. The city is working on renovating the 100-year-old building, but an engineering survey showed the structural integrity of the building is compromised. The city gave residents until noon yesterday to vacate, and some of those residents are elderly, so volunteers turned up to help.
So I think a lot of people have really been struggling with the anxiety. So we felt the need as a mental health organization to come down and make sure that we're here not only to help people physically move, but for emotional support as well.
Miami Housing Authority helped put residents in new temporary homes. SANE stands for Sexual Assault Nurse Examiner, and this week at PSU, nurses are training to become SANE certified, and they're not alone. Local law enforcement was there to make sure they're on the same page with SANE nurses when it comes to both sexual assault and domestic violence. SANE nurse Wendy Overstreet and her co-workers have been training SANE nurses for Crawford County since they received a grant for it in 2018. Now the grant has been extended and given a $1.5 million boost so the experts at PSU can train nurses throughout Kansas. Wendy says that's exactly what the Sunshine State needs, with only 18 to 20% of Kansas counties having a registered SANE nurse or SANE facility.
I just want it to where patients don't, or victims don't have to drive 4 to 5 hours to receive care. So if we can get it 30 to 45 minutes, we'd be good.
SANE training is free of charge and is also made possible due to assistance from the Kansas Coalition Against Sexual and Domestic Violence. Joplin's Ronald Mcdonald van has a new look. Organizers showed off the van's new wrap. It was provided by Sign Design with materials and labor donated by members of the Tri-State Sign Association. Updating the branding is intended to promote awareness of the Ronald McDonald House and all it does to help the families of ill children.
It's always good to have a fresh look, new colors, new style, different graphics, update pictures of people and things, and so we recommend that a lot for our wraps that we may do years in past. It's time to update them every few years.
The Ronald McDonald House of the 4 states relies on donations to provide its services. Missouri State Fair is officially underway in Sedalia, Missouri. This is the first one in almost 2 years due to the pandemic. And officials say the long hiatus made things a bit more complicated this year.
Kind of felt a little lost this year. You know, we were working hard trying to make sure we didn't forget things, having not done it in 2 years. So I think it's all coming together. It's, we're going to be back to normal as much as we can be on everything.
The fair runs through August 22nd. This year features all the standard fair fun and special musical performances from Hank Williams Jr., the Beach Boys, with John Stamos, and more. There you go. That's a look at our top stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Jeannie Moose takes a look at how Jay Leno popped up outside the cockpit of a plane while in flight. Plus, with security rapidly deteriorating in Afghanistan, the Pentagon announces U.S. troops will assist with evacuations as the deadline to withdraw nears. We'll have details there, but first, it's 5:37.
Rain marking our Friday morning, especially throughout southeast Kansas. Everything moving from north down to south. Temperatures not too bad, but don't go anywhere without the umbrella today because the rain is going to stick around till the later morning hours. We'll be right back with World Watch right after this.
Topping World Watch, the Pentagon is sending 3,000 troops to Afghanistan just weeks before the planned withdrawal of all U.S. forces. The troops will help evacuate U.S. Embassy staff in Kabul as the Taliban takes control of much of the country. Bradley Blackburn has more.
With U.S. forces on their way out in Afghanistan, the Taliban is quickly moving in. In a violent and rapid advance, Taliban fighters have captured 2/3 of the country, and U.S. military intelligence suggests the capital city of Kabul could be under attack in the next 30 days. Thousands of Afghans have fled their homes, and the State Department is now rushing to remove staff from the U.S. Embassy.
This is not abandonment. This is not an evacuation. This is not the wholesale withdrawal. What this is a reduction in the size of our civilian footprint.
3,000 U.S. troops are now on their way to help. They're flying in from the Persian Gulf and will begin moving State Department employees from the embassy to the airport, where they will be flown out of the country.
This is a temporary mission with a narrow focus. As with all deployments of our troops into harm's way, our commanders have the inherent right of self-defense, and any attack on them can and will be met with a forceful and an appropriate response.
President Biden signed off on the plan, but he remains committed to ending the U.S. mission in Afghanistan by August 31st. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News.
Those new troops should be on the ground within 24 to 48 hours. Their airlift is expected to be completed by the end of this month. Thousands more troops are being sent to the Persian Gulf to be ready to assist with the evacuation. Well, a mass shooting shocked southwest England on Thursday as police look for answers why. British authorities say 6 people, including a suspect, were killed in a shooting incident in Plymouth, England, that began in a home. 5 people died at the scene. 1 died later at a hospital. One of the victims was a 10-year-old child. One witness quoted by the Times newspaper says a gunman kicked in the front door of a semi-detached house with a semi-automatic weapon before shooting a mother and daughter. The Times says the gunman escaped through a park and then shot 2 dog walkers. Police say the incident was not related to terror. This was the first mass shooting in the country in 11 years. A ship breaks in half while at sea off the coast of Japan, and Japanese media is reporting the shipwreck is spilling oil into the ocean. There were no injuries in the disaster. The ship, which was carrying wood chips, was nearing the end of its voyage from Thailand when it ran aground Wednesday morning and then split in 2. An oil slick was visible near the wreckage. Patrol boats were using containment measures to try and control the spill. Well, it's pizza time at the International Space Station. The Cygnus cargo ship docked Thursday morning at the International Space Station, making the food delivery carrying fresh apples, tomatoes, and kiwi, and pizza for the 7 on board. Also in the delivery, a bracket for new solar wings, which will be delivered to the ISS next year. This was Northrop Grumman's 16th supply run for NASA, and it was their biggest load yet. Yummy. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, fitness trackers more popular than ever, but maybe asking if they actually work. Well, a study published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine says, indeed, they do. Finds that devices help motivate people to meet exercise goals. You get the notifications that encourage you to get up, walk around, meet those weight loss goals. Step counters, accelerometers, they both track your movement. They seem to work the best, as a matter of fact. In a review of more than 2,200 people, fitness trackers were found to help people lose more than 9.5 pounds on average. Our question to you is, do you think wearing a fitness tracker helps or motivates you to work out? Right now, we split it right down the middle. Let's write that 50-50. There you go. Thank you for that next vote right there. 56% saying yes right now. You can take part by going to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We'll be back with the news you need to know before you head out the door right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Federal health officials approve a COVID-19 booster shot for people with compromised immune systems. CDC says organ transplant recipients should be among those who get the extra dose. Dr. Anthony Fauci said everyone who received the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine will eventually need a booster shot. The Pentagon is sending 3,000 troops into Afghanistan just weeks before the August 31st drawdown date. 3 battalions are now headed to the Kabul airport to help evacuate workers from the U.S. Embassy. The White House says the deployment will not affect the military withdrawal plan. And law enforcement in Lamar, Missouri arrest a man accused of robbing a bank. Authorities say 50-year-old Rowdy Masterson of Lamar was leaving the Community National Bank and Trust on Thursday as officers were responding to calls that it was being robbed. Masterson is charged with attempted second-degree robbery, terroristic threats, and felony resisting arrest. Major League Baseball built it, and the New York Yankees and Chicago White Sox came. The 2 teams squared off last night on a baseball diamond carved out of an Iowa cornfield. Chicago won the game 9-8. The event was inspired by the 1989 film Field of Dreams. Major League Baseball says they'll play another game there next season. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Very, very heavy rain working its way through southeast Kansas right now. Now moving just on the other side of the Kansas-Oklahoma state line up through Independence. And there it is, that line moves from southwest up to the northeast. Now on the front edge of it, it's much lighter, but that's kind of the big band right there. And look at all the lightning that this thing is packing. That's just in the past 5 minutes alone. If we were to extend that out right there, that's a 30-minute look at all the lightning strikes that there were. As we transition into the central and eastern portion of the 4 states here, we're seeing this thing drop down from north to south. And so we're kind of sitting back and awaiting the activity, especially when we talk about northeast Oklahoma and then anywhere along Joplin and south of I-44, because that's just mostly cloudy skies. We do not have any watches or warnings associated with this, whether it be thunderstorm or whether it be flooding either. So that's not really the issue right now. Our ground's been able to absorb it. But don't go anywhere without the umbrella, because we're going to have a couple more hours of this. It is beginning to lighten up a little bit, that heavy rain throughout southeast Kansas. As it drops down toward the state line, it's kind of interesting here because like if you look at the national perspective, it is us. It's that one right in the middle of the map right there is really the one to talk about for today. Now, as we get into the afternoon hours, we're still going to have temperatures that are into the high 80s, low 90s. And then overnight, any rain that we have left over, just more scattered variety. Our heaviest rains right now. 7-day forecast, 90 on Saturday, 88 on Sunday, and then good looking next week. Those are pretty seasonable temperatures for this time of year. We'll take that coming off of this hot week. Be back with more KOAM morning news right after this.
Well, you're probably not going to believe this is real, but fasten your seatbelts and hold on. Jay Leno surprised some friends by popping up outside the cockpit of a plane in flight. Jeannie Moose reveals how he did it.
Flying over the ocean off the coast of California, is it a bird? Is it a white fluffy cloud? No, it's Jay Leno. The former host of The Tonight Show appeared to be hanging out midair and pretended to climb towards the cockpit. Fake, you say?
It's not a fake, it's real.
Leno says the plane, a Grumman Albatross, was flying 147 miles per hour when he ventured outside to get a laugh from his buddies. Leno told the host of Spike's Car Radio podcast that he was
just being stupid.
Move over, Tom Cruise, clinging to an Airbus. Cruise himself, not a stuntman. Open the door! In Mission Impossible, for Leno, it was Mission Impossible not to ham it up, trying to crack up his buddies by surprising them using a sort of secret hatch.
The nose opens from the inside, so yes. I climbed out on here.
One of the pilots demonstrated the hatch up by the nose cone. You don't need to be tethered in. They say it's safer than it looks. From the cockpit, you end up resembling...
with Jay Leno, like an ornament on the front of the plane.
One Instagram poster asked, wasn't this a Twilight Zone episode? When William Shatner, flying through a storm, spotted a creature out on the wing. There were no flight attendants to call when Jay Leno popped up.
There's a man out there.
What?
Look, he's crawling on...
Leno may be in the twilight of his career, but he still knows how to land a practical joke. Jeannie Moose, CNN, New York.
That would be pretty funny to just...
That creeped me out.
Oh, it's Jay.
Right.
I didn't even know you could...
wouldn't want me behind. You wouldn't want me.
I didn't know there was an opening
behind
in
the
the front of the
controls of the
cockpit
cockpit. If Jay Leno popped up, I don't know if we'd have a safe landing.
Yeah.
To each their own. All right, if your morning routine involves a little social media, you can always find your latest forecast. That is our KOAM Fox 14 Instagram page, and a noticeable difference from the last post that was made, considering that's a whole bunch of rain and not the heat advisories from the previous days. Then you can flip on over to on Facebook, or you can flip on over, or if you just prefer Facebook, there you go. There's your same forecast that you can find on the Skywatch weather app. That's available each and every morning for you. Today, we're talking about that heavy rain dominating southeast Kansas. And one final stop, the KOAM News Now Facebook page for our morning Insta poll. And this morning, asking if wearing a fitness tracker helps motivate you to work out. A study came out of England with 2,200 people surveyed, and this coming off of a journal article that says, yeah, it does seem to help motivate and remind people to put that exercise in. But our Instapoll results right now have 58% of you saying, no, really doesn't do much to help motivate you and get you moving. Maybe you're a self-motivator. How about that? I'll take the positive aspect of that. All you have to do is connect to us via our Facebook page, or you can go straight to the Instapoll as well. KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Let's come back and update the Skywatch storm tracker right after this. The heavy rain through southeast Kansas is moving south at a pretty good rate. Now moving across the Kansas-Oklahoma state line, so Independence now in the thick of it as it moves all the way down on the map. Parsons will be the next one to get the fallout from what's in between Iola and moving through Chanute. We're now picking up finally some precipitation totals from Martin Johnson Airport. Move into southwest Missouri and northeast Oklahoma, still waiting on the rain to move down, and these look like more showers. Still have a fair amount of lightning. We'll update it right after this.
Coming up, authorities arrest a Lamar, Missouri man for allegedly robbing a bank. What a new school choice law in Missouri could mean for private and charter schools. Also, the leaders at the Irene Ransom Bradley School of Nursing have been training nurses to specialize in sexual assault and domestic abuse for years, but now they'll be doing it for the entire state of Kansas.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Well, the heat advisory is finally over after a long week, but we've got rain moving through the 4 states. Let's go ahead and take a look at the forecast.
Yeah, no orange for the heat advisory. I think by the time we're said and done here out on the western edge of southeast Kansas, going to be seeing some counties pop up in green with some flood advisories. We're not there yet, but I'm not going to be surprised if we don't see some. Live look over 7th and Range Line. We're looking off to the north right there, waiting to pick up some lightning that is moving that way. And here's the heavy rain that we're talking about throughout southeast Kansas right there. That line coming right out of South Coffeyville across the state line through Independence and up through Fredonia and Chanute. And here's why the lightning is going to be very visible. Whoo, look at that amount. It's still popping up. Now, as we move just on the other side of that, it's more showers there in the Fort Scott, Nevada area. And then we're back into the heavy rain on the far northeastern portion of southwest Missouri. So everything's moving up from the top down to the bottom, but this is the one that we are going to concern ourselves with, that diagonal line right there throughout southeast Kansas, because that is going to be the main concern with possible flooding. Now, we don't have any warnings or watches as of yet, but we'll keep our eyes on that. 74 degrees in Joplin. Independence, okay, we've got that 2-degree drop in Independence now that the rain is upon that and moving its way down to the south. Independence was up to 79 earlier. And look at Iola up at the top, 68. And so we know we'll get a nice comfortable drop. Just make sure you got the umbrella with you throughout the course of today. This is kind of interesting too. If you were to pick on anybody in the contiguous 48, it'd be us, right there in the middle. Nobody else really has much action going. Our temperatures today still going to be in the high 80s, low 90s. Just got to ride this morning one out, and then it'll become more just scattered showers. But this is going to last here for at least an hour and a half, 2 more hours.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on it. Looks like it's moving through pretty strong. All right, thanks, Michael. Law enforcement in Lamar, Missouri arrest a man accused of robbing a bank. Authorities say 50-year-old Rowdy Masterson of Lamar was leaving the Community National Bank and Trust on Thursday as officers were responding to calls that it was being robbed. Masterson is charged with attempted second-degree robbery, terroristic threats, and felony resisting arrest. Volunteers showed up yesterday to help residents vacate the Miami Towers in downtown Miami. The city is working on renovating the 100-year-old building, but an engineering survey showed the structural integrity of the building was compromised. The city gave residents until noon yesterday to vacate, and some of those residents are elderly, so volunteers turned up to help.
So I think a lot of people have really been struggling with the anxiety. So we felt the need as a mental health organization to come down and make sure that we're here not only to help people physically move, but for emotional support as well.
The Miami Housing Authority helped put residents in new temporary homes. Missouri's new school choice law could mean more students in private and charter schools in the state. Some are rallying against it, saying it takes money away from the already underfunded public education system in the state. KOAM's Zach Dodge has details.
With pencils on paper, students at College Heights Christian School start the first day of school.
Come in that door, grab your papers on your way in.
Everything's going very well. This year we were blessed. We increased our enrollment by almost 60 students.
And College Heights could have even more students this time next year because of a new school choice law here in Missouri. In a nutshell, it will work by giving tax credits to people who donate into scholarship funds throughout the state. Those scholarship funds, starting next year, would then go to students with disabilities or those who come from low-income households so they can attend a private or charter school. Each student who qualifies would get up to $6,300. At College Heights, tuition ranges from around $3,000 to $7,000 a year, depending on the grade.
Even though we work really hard to keep our tuition low, it's still kind of out of the reach of some families. It gives families who might not have that option, the option.
The traditional public school is probably best for most kids, but it doesn't mean it's the best option for all kids. And so we need to provide parents other options.
Some are pushing against the program, though, saying it's a way of diverting tax money away from the already underfunded education system in the state.
We need to be investing more money in public education right now in the state of Missouri rather than reducing the resources available.
The reality is it should be money going to educate a child. If you take any other government program that we have, for instance, like food stamps, we don't go to a government grocery store. Why should we do something different in education?
In Joplin, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
The program will be available only in cities with populations higher than 30,000. In our area, that means only Joplin, and students who take part in the program will continue to be counted in their home districts for the first 5 years of that program. Well, SANE stands for Sexual Assault Nurse Examiner, and this week at PSU, nurses are training to become SANE certified. And they're not alone. Local law enforcement was there to make sure they're on the same page with SANE nurses when it comes to both sexual assaults and domestic violence. SANE nurse Wendy Overstreet and her co-workers have been training SANE nurses for Crawford County since they received a grant for it in 2018. Now the grant has been extended and given a $1.5 million boost so the experts at PSU can train nurses throughout Kansas. Wendy says that's exactly what the Sunshine State needs, with only 18 to 20% of Kansas counties having a registered SANE nurse or SANE facility.
Just want it to where patients victims don't have to drive 4 to 5 hours to receive care. So if we can get it 30 to 45 minutes, we'd be good.
SANE training is free of charge and is also made possible due to assistance from the Kansas Coalition Against Sexual and Domestic Violence. 6:07.
Had the opportunity to work and learn from Wendy Overstreet, and you want to talk about a tremendously talented, marvelous person who dignifies human dignity. Thank you, Wendy. You know how much I respect you. Skywatch storm tracker, heavy rain throughout southeast Kansas and huge amounts of lightning coming down as well. As this drops through your neighborhood, temperature is going to be rather comfortable as it'll drop it into the low 70s. But even if you're sitting here in the central portion or south of I-44, northeast Oklahoma, grab the umbrella because it is moving from north to south and will be on us here for probably the next hour and a half, 2 hours.
Let's look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, we preview an upcoming play, plus additional steps by the president.
The president asked Congress to take steps to lower the cost of prescription drugs. I'm Natalie Brand with his plan and why experts say it could help.
And the FDA weighs new rules about the chemicals in sunscreen. Tips to stay safe in the sun. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Nothing.
In Consumer Watch this morning, sunscreen is so important this time of year, but a report finds many of the products on store shelves do not offer adequate protection or include potentially harmful ingredients. Here's Bradley Blackburn with what to look for to keep your family protected.
Vanessa Proda regularly puts sunscreen on her kids, whether the family is getting ready for the beach or visiting the park on a cloudy day.
Why is it important? Why does she do that?
Because or then sun will burn you.
They're avoiding sunburns and avoiding certain chemicals by buying mineral-based sunscreens. Is it hard to find at all?
No, not really. You find it most places.
There are safer products available now in more mainstream stores.
Nika Leiba with the Environmental Working Group also pays attention to what's in sunscreen. Her team evaluated more than 1,800 different products and found just 25% met the group's standards.
How effective they are at providing adequate broad spectrum protection. And then we look at the inactive ingredients to make sure that those also aren't linked to health harms.
The FDA is now researching sunscreen chemicals, and new rules are expected in the fall. But EWG is urging consumers to switch to mineral products now. Some sunscreens say on the front label that they're mineral-based, but every sunscreen lists its active ingredients on the back. EWG says look for zinc oxide, titanium dioxide, or both. The minerals reflect UV rays and are not absorbed by the skin. The group says avoid sunscreens with the chemical oxybenzone, which is easily absorbed and linked to health concerns.
We want to make sure that they cover that.
Parents taking a proactive approach to sun protection and overall health. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
The Environmental Working Group also recommends avoiding sprays over aerosol concerns and because it's hard to get a uniform coating. Well, the old saying goes there's no such thing as a free lunch, but they never said anything about a free breakfast. In their attempt to make a bigger impact in the breakfast fast food market, Wendy's is offering free croissant breakfast sandwiches to all customers today and tomorrow. Well, customers don't need to purchase anything else, but there is a limit of 1 sandwich per customer. You don't need to download an app or enroll in anything. Just walk up and ask for a sandwich. That's it for Consumer Watch. Let's toss it over to Michael for a look at the forecast.
I had a flood warning pop up. I knew it was coming. Let's start with a live look over 7th and Range Line because we've got that tower cam turned to the north right there trying to pick up some lightning strikes that we'll eventually see over Joplin. And we've got plenty of lightning to talk about here, that is for sure, especially through southeast Kansas where the heavy rain has dominated our Friday morning. That's a look at the lightning in just the past, say 5 minutes. If we were to say, that's what we've got in the past half hour, you can't even see the rain map anymore. That's how much lightning that thing has been throwing down this morning. So extreme heavy rain lasting on a band that works really from southwest to northeast. Everything moving from north to south. So right there in between Independence and now about to approach Parsons. Just on the north side of Independence. Chanute just picking up like huge amounts of rain as well. And as you work to the central portion of the 4 states, it's more of the shower variety. And the lightning's really been with the heavier rain right now. But even with that being said, we're now kicking up some flood warnings. We just have additional ones that are popping up right now. Those ones that you see indicated in the flashing black boxes, those are going to be brand new flood warnings for Allen, Wilson, and Woodson County. Those are running until 10:15, and we got about 1 to 3 inches of rain in pockets of areas right there, and probably another inch to go before it's all said and done. So give you kind of an overview here of exactly where the flood warnings are, and like I said, the ones for Allen, Woodson, and Wilson. Those are new ones that have just popped up. Let's jaunt down here in Washington County by Bartlesville with the blinking box there, and that's indicating a strong thunderstorm. It's not a thunderstorm warning per se, but an indicator that that one's about to move through Washington County. We can kind of zoom in here and see exactly what the National Weather Service is eyeballing there. That's going to be that one just south of Bartlesville. Now, as we look at our precipitation numbers coming off of those new flood warnings, like I said, it's just dominated southeast Kansas for really the past 24 hours right there, or even around Eureka, you see an excess of 3 inches. And all this south of I-44, that's from last night because that's 24-hour amounts. I've really yet to see it early this morning. So we'll keep our eyes on the flooding. Everybody else, make sure, even if you're south of I-44, umbrella type of day, hang on to it. Then we'll begin our warm-up. But first things first, let's get ready for maybe an alternate route for those of you in southeast Kansas as this torrential rain comes down. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. Tell you what, the Cherokee County Arts Association does a marvelous job putting on performances. Of course, last year, a little bit different, but this year, back up, time to rock and roll, and that's where we're fortunate enough to be joined by Nathan Coleman this morning. And Nathan, number one, I want to thank you for your time, and number two, I want to talk about the Cherokee County Arts Association upcoming performance that you have this Friday and Saturday of Monty Python's Spam-A-Lot. People are going to name Monty Python, that's going to resonate, but a lot of people go, maybe I haven't heard of Spam-A-Lot, but perhaps they kind of know the plot.
Oh, I'm sure they do. It's so Monty Python and the Search for the Holy Grail is really what this musical is based on, but it draws from lots of little bits from Monty Python, Life of Brian, the Dead Parrot sketch, all kinds of scenes for those Monty Python fans out there. This musical draws from a lot of those bits, and it's hilarious and a really good time.
And
so, if we're having me this morning.
If we're going to have a Search for the Holy Grail, we have to have a King Arthur.
Sure.
Yep. And we happen to be joined by King Arthur himself right now.
I am King Arthur.
Tell me about taking on this role and transitioning from what we know on the big screen and putting it on a stage.
Oh, it actually translates, I think, really well because it's so corny and hammy. That you can have a lot of fun with the lines and the script that they've written. It translates really well. So if you're familiar with the movie, you'll love the show.
And even if you're not familiar with the movie, folks, go check out Spam-A-Lot, because that may, after you see Cherokee County Arts Association put it on, you may be enticed to go watch the movie and find out more about it. Hey,
absolutely.
Nathan,
definitely. Anybody will love the show, yeah.
One of the things about Spam-A-Lot that's amazing to me is the amount of musical numbers that go into this. Tell me kind of about, number one, tryouts. You got to have a voice to pull off Spam-A-Lot. And number two, the amount of time and effort that you all put into rehearsing.
Sure. Yeah, we do try out, and you would be amazed at the talent that people have here in our very own community, and what fun you can have and see people that you know up on the stage that you may not know that they had that talent to be able to get up and sing and have fun in front of people. So that's what's great about community theater. We've been practicing all summer long to put a great show on for the community. So a lot of work goes into it. It's a lot of fun. This is a repeat. We did this show 6 years ago, and we hoped to do it last year, but with COVID, we couldn't. So everyone's really excited to get back on the stage and to see the community come out.
Hey, that's a great jumping off point for my next question here. Once again, Monty Python's Spam-A-Lot opens tonight, carries on into tomorrow as well. It's at Galena High School. They have a marvelous venue there if you've never been there. But you were telling me last year, not being able to perform, what's been the excitement, the attitude like now that you're able to take this out in public once again?
Sure. We were all so relieved, I think, to come together as a cast. We've got a lot of new faces in the show this time, but also a lot of people coming back to put this show on, and it was like a family reunion, and everybody just such a relief to be able to be back out and be together personally, and really looking forward to having people come out and watch the show and be back together as a community.
Okay, so once again, remember folks, tonight is opening night. They're going to do it again tomorrow on Saturday. Nathan, I'm going to have you give us all the details as far as tickets, venues, and times.
Sure, CherokeeCountyArts.com or our Facebook page, event with Cherokee County Arts. You can find links to purchase tickets online. The show starts at 7:30, and again, that's at the Galena Performing Arts Center. That's attached to the Galena High School. Right off 7th Street there. So easy to find, great venue. Come and join us.
Truly is a marvelous venue. Cherokee County Arts Association once again putting on Monty Python's Spam-A-Lot. And we're kind enough to be joined by Nathan Coleman, who is indeed King Arthur. Nathan, number one, I want to thank you for your time. Number two, break a leg.
Appreciate it.
We'll have more KOAM morning news for you right after this.
Lander Chevrolet.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, President Biden announces additional steps he wants Congress to take to lower prescription drug costs, with Americans paying higher prices than any other country in the world. Experts say the president's proposals could make a major difference. Natalie Brand reports from Washington.
Analysis shows Americans currently pay more than twice as much for prescription drugs compared to other developed countries worldwide.
These prices have put the squeeze on too many families and stripped them of their dignity.
Now, 1 month after President Biden took executive action aimed at lowering drug prices, he's calling on Congress to do more by allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. The administration would also like a cap on the amount that Medicare beneficiaries have to pay out of pocket for drugs each year. And the administration says that drug companies that raise their prices faster than inflation should have to pay a penalty.
If Medicare prices are available to private insurance companies, then it would reduce the cost of employer-based health insurance coverage.
Well, it could certainly make a big difference.
Juliette Kubanski of Kaiser Family Foundation says while private insurers can negotiate cost, Medicare currently cannot, which especially impacts patients on a fixed income.
What are you seeing is the impact to the patient and to especially seniors who are on Medicare?
It could be quite substantial for people who use really high-cost drugs where they may be, required to pay thousands of dollars out of pocket.
A recent survey conducted by AARP shows more than half of those surveyed over the age of 50 are concerned they will not be able to afford prescription drugs over the next few years for themselves or their families. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
Senate Democrats have included provisions to expand Medicare and lower drug prices in their $3.5 trillion budget reconciliation framework. That measure has now moved to the House for consideration after the Senate approved it in a party line vote on Wednesday. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Rainfall and huge amount of lightning going on this Friday morning throughout southeast Kansas. And that's led to additional flood warnings as well. Everything moving from north to south. Central and eastern portions of the 4 states and down south of I-44 have been spared so far. However, it is a move in that way. Updated flood warnings include now Allen, Wilson, and Woodson counties running until 9:15 this morning.
Coming up, authorities arrest a Lamar, Missouri man for allegedly robbing a bank. And what a new school choice law in Missouri could mean for private and charter schools. Also, the leaders at the Irene Ransom Bradley School of Nursing have been training nurses to specialize in sexual assault and domestic abuse for years, but now they'll be doing it for the entire state of Kansas.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. The heat advisory is finally over, but we've got rain in the forecast. Let's go straight to Michael.
We got torrential rainfall coming through southeast Kansas. It's been that way pretty much all morning long. So far, central, eastern, and southern portions of the 4 states have kind of been spared for all this. I mean, we're talking about coming down. We're talking 3 to 4 inches an hour. Is what we're seeing right now when you see the red there stretching right across the Oklahoma-Kansas state line, making its way up, starting to creep into Crawford County in the far northwestern section of the county. It's just dominated Allen, Wilson, Woodson, Greenwood. It's been there all morning long, and that's what's led to flood warnings indicated in the green there. Like I said, the new ones are for Wilson, Allen, and Woodson right here. And now we got another one, and that's technically not in our highlighted area, but we're going to pay attention to it here. And what this is just talking about the effects of that thunderstorm that's just about to cross the state line. So that's where we jump back, take a look at where that is, right there, just on the western portion of Washington County. And speaking of Washington County, it's that one south of Bartlesville. It's spawned a couple special weather advisories. Now, down south of I-44, I'd throw the umbrella in there. You're eventually going to need it. That is for sure. Our rain accumulation numbers, as far as what we're seeing right now, we've seen in excess of 3 inches in the far northwestern portion of southeast Kansas. That's 24 hours, remember. So it does take into account a little bit we got overnight there in between Pittsburgh and Columbus, and then south of I-44 down by Monette. Still going to be able to make it up into the high 80s, low 90s. Temperatures right now in the 70s. You'll notice about a 3 to 4 degree drop as the rain moves through, and then we'll warm up with mostly cloudy skies for the rest of the afternoon. Yeah. Got to get through this one, then we'll go scattered variety for afternoon and evening. More pop-ups than the torrential what we're seeing right now.
Definitely keep an eye on things. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, law enforcement in Lamar, Missouri arrests a man accused of robbing a bank. Authorities say 50-year-old Rowdy Masterson of Lamar was leaving the Community National Bank and Trust on Thursday as officers were responding to calls that it was being robbed. Masterson is charged with attempted second-degree robbery, terroristic threats, and felony resisting arrest. Missouri creates a school choice program focused on students with disabilities and from low-income households. The program gives tax credits to people who donate money to scholarship funds. Starting next year, these scholarships will then be given to students with disabilities and those from low-income households so they can attend a private school or other educational program outside the public school system. Some are pushing against the idea, though.
Right now we rank 49th in the nation in starting teacher salaries in Missouri. And instead of investing more money into a need like that, we've passed a voucher bill that actually dilutes the resources available to public schools.
The program will be available only in cities with populations higher than 30,000. In our area, that means only Joplin. Students who take part in the program will continue to be counted in their home districts for the first 5 years of the program. SANE stands for Sexual Assault Nurse Examiner, and at PSU, nurses spent the day training to become SANE certified. Thanks to a new $1.5 million grant, this local training will soon spread throughout Kansas. KOAM's Mike Mahoney was at that training and has the details.
According to the KBI's Kansas Crime Index 2020, cases of reported rape in Kansas decreased from 1,297 in 2019 to 1,190 in 2020. But in 2021, Wendy Overstreet, a sexual assault nurse examiner and coordinator of PSU's SANE program, says that's not what she sees in Crawford County.
We have noticed here just at our facilities, which is the Southeast Kansas Community Health Center and Ascension Health, we have noticed an increase, especially over the weekend, of reported cases. We went from seeing none to, in the last 4 to 6 weeks, we do about 2 to 3 a weekend, and now over the last 3 weeks, we've had 1 to 2 report during the week.
Fortunately, help is on the way as Kansas nurses spent Thursday training to become SANE certified at PSU's Irene Ransom Bradley School of Nursing. And they weren't alone. Local law enforcement was there to make sure they're on the same page with SANE nurses when it comes to both sexual assault and domestic violence.
This class really allows law enforcement the opportunity to see and experience what our SANE nurse partners look at, why they collect evidence, how they collect evidence, why they ask the questions to the victims that they do, how they ask those questions, and what they write in their reports. So whenever we get those reports, we're able to understand the process that they went through with the victims of sexual assault, and then we can convey that information to our prosecutor.
Wendy Overstreet and her co-workers have been training SANE nurses for Crawford County since they received a grant for it in 2018. Now the grant has been extended and given a $1.5 million boost, so the experts at PSU can train nurses throughout Kansas. And Wendy says that's exactly what the Sunshine State needs, with only 18 to 20% of Kansas counties having a registered SANE nurse or SANE facility.
I just want it to where patients don't, or victims don't have to drive 4 to 5 hours to receive care. So if we can get it 30 to 45 minutes, we'd be good.
In Crawford County, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
SANE training is free of charge and is also made possible due to assistance from the Kansas Coalition Against Sexual and Domestic Violence. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, 2 high school basketball coaches are facing murder charges following a teenage athlete's death during an outdoor practice. Plus, for our Something to Talk About, we're asking, does wearing a fitness tracker help or motivate you to work out? We let you weigh in, but first, it's 6:37.
Look at the torrential rainfall throughout southeast Kansas, stretching across the state line into Northeast Oklahoma, that's got a huge amount of lightning with it. Now we've got flooding concerns as we have additional flood warnings that are now present for Allen, Wilson, and Woodson counties until 9:15 this morning. We'll be back with Nationwatch next.
Topping Nationwatch this morning, 2 high school basketball coaches are facing murder charges following a teenage athlete's death during an outdoor practice. 16-year-old Imani Bell died in 2019 after collapsing outside her Atlanta area high school. Her cause of death was heat stroke. Last month, a grand jury indicted her coaches on multiple felonies, including second-degree murder and cruelty to children in the second degree. Mark Strassman spoke to Imani's father, who hopes the charges lead to justice and safety for other kids.
Imani Bell was a high school junior with dreams of going to Stanford and a love of basketball.
Imani was a fantastic kid.
Daddy's girl, mama's girl?
Definitely daddy's girl. Definitely daddy's girl.
Because?
Well, we just had a special bond.
Eric Bell's 16-year-old daughter died 2 years ago tomorrow after she collapsed running the stairs of her high school's football stadium. Her coaches held the outdoor conditioning practice despite a heat index of 103 degrees. At the hospital, ER doctors could not save her.
The doctors worked on her for about 45 minutes to an hour. And body just couldn't take anymore. And we was like, keep working, keep working. He was like, we can't. The body's not responding anymore.
You actually watched your daughter die?
Yes, I was in the room. I was actually in the room. And, that's just a memory that I'll never forget. It's, I replay it every day, and, it's just kind of, it's tough.
Bell's autopsy found no underlying medical issues. She died of hyperthermia, heat stroke. The day she collapsed, the actual temperatures reached 97 degrees. The state's athletic regulations ban outdoor workouts during any temperature above 92 degrees. And 1 hour before her practice, her school district sent a warning to all schools: no sports or clubs outside. Eric Bell is also a basketball coach.
And you had a practice scheduled that day?
Yes.
And you canceled it?
Canceled it.
Because?
It was too hot outside. At the end of the day, only one thing counts, and that's to get that child back home to their parents.
Prosecutors blame Bell's former coaches, La Rosa Maria Walker-Asakiri and Dwight Palmer. They face second-degree murder charges.
Every coach is now going to have to think about Imani Bell and the repercussions of putting winning over life.
Imani Bell was climbing stadium stairs just like these when she collapsed. The Clayton County School District had no comment about this case because of pending litigation, and we couldn't track down the lawyers who represent the 2 arrested coaches. Mark Strassman, CBS News, Atlanta.
All right, that's a look at today's top national story. Let's check back in with Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page in our morning Insta poll, it turns out that fitness trackers are more popular than ever, but some people asking, do these actually work? Well, there was a study published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine that says, yeah, they do. Finds devices help motivate people to meet their exercise goals. They give you the notifications that encourage and remind you to get up, get out, get some. You got step counters, accelerometers. Those both track your movement. They seem to work the best. In a review of more than 2,200 people, fitness trackers were found to help more people lose more than 9.5 pounds on average. So our question to you this morning, does wearing a fitness tracker help or motivate you to work out? Right now, you guys are going, no, I'm self-motivated. I don't need any reminders. 69% say no, they really don't, compared to 31% that say yes. Hey, Tanya, you want to see a cool shot?
Sure. Ooh.
Look at that. Sunrise in War Dog country right there.
Thank you, Joe. That's beautiful.
Good friend Joe Everly. Yeah, well, she sent it to me. I'm like, Joe, is that real? Yeah, that's what the glow cloud.
No editing. That's what
It's what the glow cloud looked like
Nice.
when she walked out the door this morning.
That's really cool.
Unreal. All right, we'll be back. Celebrate birthdays and anniversaries right after this.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Specialist Jerry Morris, who served in the United States Army from 1968 to 1970. During his service, he earned a Good Conduct Medal and the Purple Heart. His hometown, Chanute, Kansas. We're proud to salute Jerry Morris, our four-state hero.
Faith Ann Folk begins our birthday list. Faith Ann, a big happy birthday to you. She turns number 8 in Oswego.
All right, and we've got Charlie Lohman. Oh, what a pretty picture there. Looking all serious there. 8 years old in Girard.
Tinley Garwood celebrating number 9. Oh, it was a good week to be at the cool pool there, kiddo. Looks like we got a little competitive swimmer on our hands as well. Tinley, I want you to know this comes with love from Mom, Dad, and your brother.
All right. Alexis Ursit turning 11 years old this year. Alexis is celebrating up in Fort Scott.
Now, technically, Brady Whitworth is still 10, technically. But you know what? Tomorrow she turns 11, and so I want to get this party started early. Brady, happy birthday to you in Humboldt.
All right, I like that. And in Columbus, turning 18, it's time to celebrate for Haley Johnson.
Shelby Johnson, she is turning 27. Great looking family photo right there. Happy birthday to you, Miss Shelby and Gerard.
Oh, getting her hands full there. I like that. Happy birthday, Shelby. Levi Lehman is celebrating birthday number 33. I understand he's a Sturgis fan.
Pretty cool.
Levi is in Frontenac.
Jerry Jones, so it's not that Jerry Jones, this Jerry Jones. Jerry's celebrating his 53rd coming up tomorrow. So once again, I've given carte blanche by Tanya to get the birthday started early. So Jerry, have a great weekend in Erie.
Well, if we're going to start Jerry a day early, let's start Kathy a day early too. Kathy Budd turning 72 years old tomorrow. Going to go for a horseback ride a little bit early. She's in Richards.
These two right here, this is awesome. Number one are two tremendous people. Just absolutely love them. Number two, look at this milestone. 50 years for Jeff and Cindy Leverance. Jeff and Cindy, you know how much we love you. Congratulations and a very happy anniversary. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Jeff and Cindy are in Pittsburgh.
All right, Larry Vanetta celebrating a birthday in Miami. Happy birthday to you. Craig Musselman turning 62 years old this year. Craig is in Chanute. And Billy Davidson in Chanute as well. We got a message from your family and friends. Have an amazing day. We love you from your family and friends. Hugs and kisses.
Bob, you know they're going to let me finish it off by wishing you a happy birthday. Our good friend Bob Kimmick in Hepler. Bob, have a great birthday, my man. Happy anniversary and happy birthday to all. Here's where you can send them into birthdays at KOAMTV.com, or you can go to our website, KOAMNewsNow.com. Now here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club. All you have to do is go to our website and sign up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMNewsNow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Let's roll through this. Torrential rainfall coming down throughout southeast Kansas. It has spread a little bit toward the central portion of SEK, even though we've got some light rain and shower activity throughout southwest Missouri. It's been relatively quiet for most of southwest Missouri and northeast Oklahoma, minus, of course, Washington County. But for southeast Kansas, it has been the exact opposite, dominated by heavy rainfall all morning long. And let's go ahead and put on the lightning tracker as well. It's on that leading edge right now, and it's continued to strike all morning long. Now, we've got some storm reports that are starting to filter in. Just give us some rain amounts right there in Wilson County, 2.2 inches. Greenwood County, up to 3 inches. There's one from the Eureka Airport. Thank you, Liam. That's at 2.5 inches. And so no surprise that we've got flood warnings indicated in green. Our latest 3 that popped up were 4. Greenwood County was already on the board. And then we added Allen, Wilson, and Woodson County with expiration times of now we're down to 10:15 this morning. That actually got extended right there by half an hour. It was set to expire at 9:45 now. up to 10:15. So know that flooding is going to be imminent here, if not already taking place in Allen, Woodson, Wilson, and Greenwood counties. And now we're starting to see it pile up in Montgomery County as well, just north of Independence, where there's very hard rain. This is 24-hour amounts too, and so that's why you even see it from Girard through Pittsburgh down to Columbus. That's really from last night, not from this morning, and a little bit south of I-44, but nothing compared to what we're seeing right now in southeast Kansas. Still got some, interesting shots from the tower cams there. 7th and range line been dry all morning long and sitting at 74 degrees. Now, when the rain does roll through, we've seen Independence drop 9 degrees from earlier this morning. Indy was at 79, now down to 70, so we've got some high 60s in there. That will play a role. Don't go anywhere without an umbrella, no matter where you are. This is going to last for, another hour, hour and a half. And then we'll get a little warm-up on our hands for today, but pretty seasonable over the weekend. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Federal health officials approve a COVID-19 booster shot for people with compromised immune systems. The CDC says organ transplant recipients should be among those who get the extra dose. Dr. Anthony Fauci said everyone who received the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine will eventually need a booster shot. Pentagon is sending 3,000 troops into Afghanistan just weeks before the August 31st drawdown date. 3 battalions are now headed to the Kabul airport to help evacuate workers from the U.S. Embassy. The White House says the deployment will not affect the military withdrawal plan. Law enforcement in Lamar, Missouri arrest a man accused of robbing a bank. Authorities say 50-year-old Rowdy Masterson of Lamar was leaving the Community National Bank and Trust on Thursday as officers were responding to calls that it was being robbed. Masterson is charged with attempted second-degree robbery, terroristic threats, and felony resisting arrest. Major League Baseball built it, and the New York Yankees and Chicago White Sox came. The two teams squared off last night on a baseball diamond carved out of an Iowa cornfield. Chicago won the game 9-8. The event was inspired by the 1989 film Field of Dreams. Major League Baseball says they'll play another game there next season. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Torrential rainfall throughout southeast Kansas going to continue for at least the next hour as everything pushes from north to south. Even those of you that have not experienced any rain, if you're going anywhere, umbrella needed, because we'll even have some scattered showers for this afternoon. Remember, we've got flood warnings right now for Greenwood, Allen, Wilson, Woodson County. Those have actually been pushed back at expiration time of 9:15. We're going to go ahead and make that 10:15 now. Temperatures going to rise back into the we'll go high 80s, low 90s for the afternoon hour. Certainly not having to worry about any of the heat right now. Just making sure that you know which roads around you are prone to flooding.
All right. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making 4-cheese smoked mac and cheese in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Of course, your morning news continues on KOAM, CBS Morning News. That's coming up next.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues.
And we'll keep an eye on all that flooding that we're going to have through portions of southeast Kansas and watch the thunderstorms collapse down on us for those of you who have been spared so far in the central and eastern portions of the 4 states. Got our incomparable producer, Allie Simon, producing her last show, and also one of our photographers and do everything. Producer, audio, you name it. Liam Mandelbaum, also his last show with us. While you may not see him on air, you are certainly aware of the great work that these two people have put into this show each and every day. And I want you to know, Liam and Allie, it has been a pleasure to work and more importantly, get to know the both of you. You both are extremely bright, extremely talented, and you have great things in your future.
Yep, we wish you both the very best as you move on with your careers.
Wraps it up for this edition. Hey, I want you to have a wonderful weekend. Just try to stay dry today and do me a favor. Be safe. We'll do this all again on Monday morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.
Don't miss our 3 big